Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Assalamu and peace out to the rest of you. Black-hearted son of Black N asking you to hit that share button. Like and subscribe benefit me. Thanks to those who did subscribe. Sharing benefits us. And the message is more important than the messenger, and so this is why I ask you to hit those buttons. Well, I ask you to hit the share button. But I want to thank those who have hit either one of the buttons. Now, I haven't had a chance to watch O'Shea's video to see why he said that April Mason lied. I'm not really sure. And I'll get a chance to watch it, inshallah. Miss Mason replied to my first video, and she said, yeah, but what about solutions, hon? And that sounds like a positive stance to me. I appreciate it. But fact is, her cousin, at the very least exaggerated, if not made the whole thing up. If a cousin really did feel unsafe behind somebody, she exaggerated. And if she didn't get followed at all, then she made it up. In either case. And she did not say anything to the Uber driver because there was nobody following him at that time. So that part about them being followed was clearly made up, as evidenced by the videotape and corroborated by the Uber driver, who was later contacted. Because of this, let me go ahead and make one thing plain. Until I find out that April did anything other than just try to be loyal to her cousin, I'm not going to blame her, because I like to have evidence, like the videotape, before I cast blame and point fingers at people. So someone say, why you go in on sisters like you do? Like I said, I don't hate sisters, but I do go in on them to a certain extent, and one of the reasons I go in on sisters is because of what I have actually witnessed and seen with my own two eyes on more than one occasion. I love black women in general, across nationalities, but I ain't with the foolishness. And I don't expect responsible women to be with the foolishness. If Miss Mason is on her channel and she's not dissing black men after what she's been through, and she's telling black women to ditch the whole strong and independent talk, then certainly these are not women that have provoked black men into withdrawing any protection. They have not done this, and therefore they should not feel completely unprotected. But I'm going to speak to both sides of this. Number one, brothers, when we're dealing with these kinds of women and we know that's who they are, certainly it's okay to throw the cloak of protection around them. Not her cousin, but around Miss Mason, sure. The thing is, by the same token, Miss Mason is not the one that got followed, if anybody got followed at all. The thing is that Miss Mason is not the one that made up anything, nor did anyone follow her. Miss Mason has needed protection before in the past when she was young. She is not walking around here needing protection now. She certainly ain't starting no stuff. So naturally, if we were to see her from somewhere and we recognized her, let's be honest, brothers, how many of you would actually be willing to come to her defense? Even if you don't go up in these dudes' faces, how many of you would be willing to say, hey, you know what? Come on inside. Come on indoors. I got you. They ain't coming in, and the cops on their way. At the very least, if not something more. You see, one of the reasons is because, as we know, you'd be willing to do something like this for someone like Miss Mason, in large part because you know who Miss Mason is, and she's not out there starting nothing. And Miss Mason she'll go to bat for you too. The thing is, I honestly think that if a sister was starting stuff with a brother and just wailing on him because, you know, men can't hit back, I think Miss Mason would be the one to say, you need to cut that mess out. And if she said, whistle to you, Miss Mason might haul off and hit her. I get that impression. You see, because men and women are both abused by each other at times, the question before you defend the sister is legitimate if you ask, well, would she defend me from a woman? If a woman was wailing on me because I can't hit back, would she defend me? When she say, you know, but why don't you hit a woman that can hit you back? Come on, I dare you. See, would they do it? And it's okay to ask that question. I suspect Miss Mason's the type to do it. long as she knows that man didn't start nothing, I think she's the type to do it. Now, I want to ask a question to sisters in general. If I'm this provider and protective, and then I come home and I find out that she's cheating, and that one of my children is actually not my child, am I right to grab my wife and smack open-handed, not even punch her in the jaw, but just smack the snot out of her, make her fall over the bed, and tell her that I caught her and everything, and that she knew damn well the baby wasn't mine? I'm up here supporting the baby. Would I be in my right? Would I be within my rights to do something like this with proof? Many sisters would say, no, I mean, that's nasty, but you shouldn't hit her, just leave her. Okay, now, let's say that I go and I marry a second wife. I don't cheat, I just marry another wife. Look after her, treat them equally, but I just don't say nothing to the first wife about the second one. She finds out I'm married to a second wife, comes home and hits me. You wouldn't say anything about her hitting me. Well, she got emotional, and you know how we are. Do you know how men are? So, do you care about how men are? And when I made a comment about how celibacy and the friend zone cannot be a reward for defending women, I don't mean that I'm not saying that it has to be exactly that woman we defend all the time. What I am saying, though, is that it's the same thing the other brothers are saying. Same thing that BGS and same thing that Edward Anderson is saying. The brothers you want to defend you are not the ones you want to fuck you. And you cannot sit up here and pick one man to do all the fucking and another one to do all the working and the providing. And even though every last one of you isn't like that anyway, I understand that. The fact remains that those of you who are get around a hell of a lot more than those of you that are not. So every man's going to have experience with multiples of these women. Just like every black man ain't no dog, but you know what? The ones that are going to get around. And that has a hell of a lot more to do with what you want than how they are, to be honest with you. It has to do with both, but more so what you want. And when these men that are dogs get around, hey, look, they get around. So every last one of you is going to come across some dogs. It's not because every man is a dog, it's because the dogs get around. The bad option is hyper available. And I did a recording on this, probably a year ago at this point, on the hyper availability of the bad options. Bad men are hyper available. Bad women are hyper available. Each one of us comes across them. If it is not okay for men to bring their trauma from these experiences to new women, it is not okay for women to bring their trauma from these experiences to new men. And one of the things what does this have to do with protection and celibacy being a reward? Well, like I said, if men consistently realize that they're not being called at 2 a.m. to just go in and tap that for free, then they're not going to protect a woman that's calling somebody else at 2 a.m. to tap that for free. That's not the way this works. If you're not like that with any man at all, then you're not like that with any man at all. You can then call a man for your protection, provided, of course, that you would also protect him from a bad woman, then that's okay. But by the same token, you cannot sit up here and decide that you're going to call up someone like Derrick Jackson just to hit that, but then you're going to sit up and call someone like me to come and protect you because you got a stalker or because you being followed. Put my life on the line when I already got a wife, I got my daughters, my mother, hell, the male members of my family that may need some defense at some point. If you want me to risk not being there for any of them one day, then I gotta know that you gonna be there for them when I'm not there. That's really what it comes down to. And yes, to a certain extent, there is something sexual about it. Because if a man does not protect you, he can't hit that. Fair enough. If your husband will protect you, he can hit that. And I've seen with my own two eyes that husbands can protect their wives and provide, and they can't get the draws. And I know because, I don't spill their secrets. I don't give up their names. I don't gossip about it. So these men will confide in me. And I'm telling you this because you don't know their names. You don't know my name or my face for that matter. So you don't know who they are, but I'm telling you that this is common. This is what I'm saying to you. Women that are married. I've seen women, Muslim and Christian, that were married in the U.S. I knew their husbands, and their husbands were providers, protectors. And they would come back like, man, I see why y'all allowed to marry more than one. I'm like, what you mean? And no, don't sit up and say, well, what are these husbands doing if their wives don't want to fuck them? You don't say that. Not when it comes to a marriage. Because you're saying that I'm not allowed to ask, what are you doing? I'm not even allowed to tell you what you're doing that your men don't want to protect you. If it goes one way, it goes the other. Then I'm talking about married couples at this point. I have seen it. You know what? I've actually been that at one point. Needless to say, that marriage didn't last long. Oh, and that was the ADOS. Yeah, now, after that, I never married an ADOS again, never held hands with one, never got romantically involved with an ADOS, and don't regret it. That's real. The one I respect the most is actually a college friend of mine that actually, she said that she didn't have a babysitter. She told me that had she found a babysitter, she'd have taken advantage of me. Now, I was Muslim at this point, and I had already been married twice. So fornication is even more of a grave sin for someone in my position than it would have been for someone that had never been married. But going by her own rules, she was still going by her own rules. She doesn't have any rules against fornication. And she was honest with me about how she felt. I can respect her more than I can respect some of you who want to sit up here and play the role of the one that needs defense. But then even with your husbands, you just ain't in the mood for some damn reason. That ain't the way that works. That's not the way, and when you act like that's the way it works, you send a message to your men that they need to be looking elsewhere. So when it comes to defense, they need to concentrate their defenses elsewhere, because you ain't gonna be there for them. They ain't your type. And what you expect at this point? You're not calling on the same men to protect you that you're calling on to fuck you, and this is the heart of the issue. When you call your relative to protect you, nobody, not black men or black women, are taking issue with that. It makes sense. You call on your brother, you call on your dad, you call on your cousins, your uncles, maybe your nephews, because you treat them like they're related to you anyway. That's the assumption being made. You'll do for them. If a woman's pelting them, you'll pelt the woman. So that's understandable. Nobody's really sitting up here saying anything against that. What brothers are talking about is, why should I defend a black woman I don't know in a conflict of which I don't know the origins in the beginning, and risk not being there for my relatives? Why should I do that? Knowing doggone well I ain't her type no way, and she's probably in a fight or being chased after or something like that by someone that is her type. Because as we know, at the real heart of this issue and this debate is not only sisters talking about they strong and independent, it is also sisters wanting rough men. And I don't mean tough men, I'm talking rough men. Tough is someone who can stand something and give it back. Rough is someone who's just mean, brutish, uncultured, aggressive, doesn't care. And you don't want just the one that can defend themselves. You want the one that will slap other people for no damn reason. Just be honest about it. Cynthia G confessed to it. Not all of you may be like this, but you have to understand that the ones who are open and vocal about it. And there's one other thing I want you to understand, sisters. When you're talking about this protection, you also talk about provision in the meantime. What brothers don't have. Okay? Let me make something plain to you about both of our religions. If you're Christian, you know about this. If you're Muslim, you know about this. God is not walking around here passing out money because you want men with money and you hate poverty. Even though he put the hatred of poverty in you, he still ain't walking around passing out money to men. Good or bad men. What does this tell you? What I'm saying to you is that when you are relating to men, especially the ones you're not related to, your libido and his libido are more important in the eyes of God than either one of your materialistic instincts, his or yours. God ain't making people rich but he gave everybody a sex drive, unless they're sick or old or really young. Gave it all, gave everybody a libido. And you sitting up here trying to put all these financial requirements around your libido only leads to one thing. Most men ain't gonna have your financial requirements, but especially most honest men, because as we know, honest businessmen tend to make less than crooked ones. That's the truth of the matter. So then you set up here and you have made off limits to you most of the honest men. And you have demanded that in order for a man to get yours, he has to either go in debt or be crooked. Which one is it going to be? In most cases. Or he could be lucky enough to not have to do any of these things to become wealthy enough for you, but how few of those are those men? But you don't want to share. It is not men that are hard to please. It's you. That's the truth of the matter. We men don't naturally come around looking to see what you have and financially judging you. And that's been a mistake. So when black men do this with sisters, I'm glad they do, because sisters have been doing this with black men with more scrutiny than they have been doing this with white men. White men ain't got to have as much to get black women, and this is becoming more and more obvious now at this point. Yeah, it's great when a white man does have it, but what does he do if he likes black women? He tricks off of them. He doesn't marry them. He doesn't commit. He goes back home to a white woman. He may not want to screw her, but he wants his family to be with her. He wants to tap you, but he don't want his family to be with you. Now, when you do get a white man, you get the ones that ain't got much, and they usually ain't got as much as you do, or as much as brothers do. Now that we're seeing more of this, we're looking and saying, what is all this talk of we don't provide and protect? And these white guys don't have to provide and protect. Serena Williams is still with her husband, despite the fact that he never said a mumbling word about the Tennis Oversight Association, whatever they're called, randomly drug testing her 15 more times than they were drug testing the white tennis players. He didn't say a mumbling word because he knew what the game is. She didn't leave him yet. And I've already covered how she showed him preferential treatment when they were together. I mean, she tells a story about how she really wasn't into him at first. You know what I think happened? I think she was. She just didn't think he was into her. I think that might have been what the case was. She probably actually came on to him because he seems like, from what I'm understanding, he seems like that type. Here he is with $9 million. He's a millionaire, but he got a 15th of what she had. She was dating black men with more money than this dude. She never gave up the pussy. As a Muslim, I can't knock her for it if it's her religious beliefs. What I can knock her for is the fact that she gave up that rule. She made the rule for black men and she broke the rule for a white dude who was pregnant with his baby before they got married. If I was her father, I wouldn't have shown up at the goddamn wedding either, and I wouldn't protect her now. So she's got to protect herself. She has to do this. And she ain't left that man yet. You know goddamn well, sisters, you under the sound of my voice, you know damn well, those of you who are preaching femininity and those of you who are preaching scrapping independence and don't need no man, one of the things you know is that if he had been a black man, he would have never gotten to marry her with that only that much money. And if he had gotten to marry her, he would have been treated badly for not defending her from all these other things, even if they were just boyfriend or girlfriend and he wasn't tapping that. This is what you must understand. You collectively have been offering a better deal to white men, and I'm shocked to hear it because as a light-skinned black man, I was offered a worse deal consistently, damn near every time, and was told about this in 2001, and forgave it and forgot about it until my memory got jarred in 2017. So when I see sisters now offering these better deals to these white dudes, I'm like, get the F out of here. Are you serious? So anyway, you got to understand, sisters, that brothers really have been pushed away. You want to say that it's cowardice. Well, you know, I can sit up here and fight a man, but we are going to take up injuries. It's going to be expensive. And if you don't feel fear of just fighting a man, because you can do the same thing to him he can do to you, the fact is still that both of you could sustain injuries for no goddamn reason. Because let's say that we had all said, okay, you know, we're going to do something about this. Black men with great charges that had nothing to do with it would have got their asses beat and beaten the asses of black men, and you would have had injuries on both sides for no goddamn reason at all. Except to somebody imagine being followed by some charger. 3 black men in some charger. Now this may have happened before the Circle K, maybe. But afterwards that wasn't the case. We saw the videotape. So what the hell? But we're supposed to be just okay with something like that and just run out there and just defend any and everybody. Cause I'm black, you black, your mama black. So we're supposed to go out there looking for injuries, looking for combat, based on an exaggerated report that we can't verify is even partially true. But the police can verify is at least partially exaggerated. That's not only is that not fair to black men, that's not fair to women like April Mason, who was just taken up for her cousin as far as I know. That's not fair to women that really ain't out here trying to get black men killed for no damn reason. Because who's gonna be there for those women that deserve it? So black men really, sisters, before you want to run off and say they're just being cowards, maybe some of these young brothers, some of them are and others of them are not. But old cats, no, they ain't running around here just being cowards. What they are saying is, I'm not gonna go through all this for no bullshit. And for what? I'm already in the friend zone because brothers that you expect to protect you are already in the friend zone. And this is known. You're not fucking the men who protect you. Even when you are married to them. I know this is the case. And some of these couples that I saw like this were couples in which Assalamu alaikum, kemonachin. Alhamdulillah. Sorry about that. So yeah, even in these married couples where this is happening, these were wives that had their fathers in their lives. So what abandonment issues did they have? They didn't. They just saw that their fathers grew up having less money than white men have. That's really what the trauma comes from, to a certain extent. And hey, you know what? I don't blame sisters for hating that deal. We brothers hate it too. But at the end of the day, again, this comes down to us fighting over bones and not attacking the one that ate the meat. And there was a sister that said on Facebook to a brother, actually, you ain't even going after the real enemy. Brother man said, well, if I did, I wouldn't sit up here and say it on Facebook. She brought up a valid point to a certain extent, but he brought up an even more valid point. If I'm going after the damn enemy, don't sit up here and expect me to brag about it on Facebook, trying to be a hero to you. Even if I'm out here cutting crackers' heads off behind you, black woman, you can't sit up here and expect me to try to be a hero on Facebook about it. To try to justify your decision. I can't afford that. Now, I'm not out here doing it, obviously. But this other cat, and I doubt that he is, but this other cat brought up a valid point, and that is that he was indirectly saying whoever is out there cutting these crackers' heads off, if anybody's doing it, they better not expose themselves. But again, it comes down to this. Sisters want brothers to get out there and get themselves killed, and it ain't the 666 brothers they want out there getting themselves killed. Matter of fact, they may want the 6'6". In other words, 6-figure salary. Those guys, because of what they had to be when they were younger to get these 6-figure salaries when they got older. They may want those guys to get out there and get themselves killed. But, the ones that just, they 6 foot tall, got 6-pack, and they got 6 gold teeth. And 6 tattoos, that's the other 666. They ain't asking them brothers to get out there and get themselves killed. Oh, they'll protect them cats. They could be out here dealing drugs and robbing other black folks, and when he need a place to lay low, he show up at her door, hey babe, what's that? Smooth talking and shit, and she fall for it. Meanwhile, a responsible brother can come home and be like, I got laid off, so I got to plan what I'm gonna do next. She's already countdown and already started. Like Chris Rock said, it may not happen that day, but it's coming. This is what we're seeing. There is a dysgenic preference in sisters from the United States, and you're expecting us to overlook all that and jump out and protect you, even when we're not present physically. When we don't even know what's going on, you expect us to somehow be transported to wherever you are and just jump out and protect you. And then not only that, but you expect us to do this after you tell us, don't you objectify us sexually, but then you objectify men financially. You objectify black men financially more than you do white men financially, even though white men have a system designed to make sure that heterosexual black men are always financially disenfranchised. Last hired, first fired, and you know it. Because you're the second to last hired, and the second one fired. And you still want to sit up here and start judging men by financial standards that a black heterosexual man is automatically barred from meeting in the United States and maybe even Canada to a certain extent. Never crosses your damn mind. Or it does and you just say, I don't care. Doesn't matter if somebody robbed us of the meat. I'm gonna fight him over the bones. But I'm not gonna help him if he decides to rob the robber to get our meat back. This is what we're dealing with. Then we gotta hear you talk about, y'all ain't protecting us. Actually, a lot of brothers will. I mean, hell, I thought I wouldn't. Until a few days ago, I was recording something about the same thing, and around the corner came one of my colleagues. She ain't even black. She pointed to some teenager driving in the car. This dude was following me and harassing me, and I ran after this dude. He took off. Hauled ass. It was an instinct. I didn't even have to think about it. I was recording something about that. She came around the corner. And without even thinking, I took off, hauled ass. Then I realized, wait a minute, look what I did. Look what I was recording. Look what I done did. Ran this kid off. And that's when I recorded how even I've been guilty of hypocrisy. So many brothers, because I'm no different than a lot of other brothers, many brothers would tell you that you have necessarily forfeited your protection, but they would still turn around and offer you some if they know that you didn't start nothing. That's what would happen. Because you know how I am about white folk, and I still defended her. What you think I'd have done with a sister? And I already did it, actually. 2017. Some Uber drivers in this country were trying to flirt with some of the Western teachers. I jumped in for the sisters, not the white women. Sorry about that. Allergies, it's cold here. People don't know we get winter here. But you see, a lot of brothers are telling you how you forfeiting your protection, and yet and still, if they see what's going on and they know you didn't start nothing, you got a good chance of still finding some. But what you looking for is to be able, many of you, I'm not talking about Sister Mason per se, but a lot of you coming on and making these comments, what you looking for is to be able to start stuff with white men and have brothers come in and save you from white men. But the funny thing is, now we know that sisters want white men. We understand that now. I get it. I don't like it, but I get it. This is coming out something new. But boy, does it explain stuff we've been seeing for a long time. And you want brothers to be up here talking about some, I'll protect you, sister. The dude that'll sit up and say, I'll protect you, sister, is not the one that you're not draining his nuts. Now, if your body can't be a reward for protection, that's fine. It can't be a reward. That means, but the thing is, it definitely cannot be a reward for not protecting you. But that's exactly what's happening. The ones that ain't protecting you, they're getting rewarded. And they're getting rewarded with your body before you have all these kids. You're rewarding them. And then when some of them get out of line because they don't respect you, then what you want is for the good dude who you never wanted to school to come out and protect you, and to be superhumanly present in order to do it. Could have been 5 miles away. You want him to be transported at the speed of light through some wormhole to the location you're in to protect you because. Are you kidding me? That's what you're looking for. That's what you insist on. It has to be that way. Why? Y'all kill me with this. But you kill a lot of brothers with this. Figuratively, you kill me with the humor. But sometimes, on occasion, you kill some other brothers physically because you get them involved in stuff. Now, these stories don't always make the news, but they out there. And if you want to know who it is that told me to be careful which sisters I'm going to jump out there and defend, it was my own mother who raised me pro-black. But when she began to see what sisters were looking for and what they weren't looking for, she later on said to me, matter of fact, one of the times she said it to me was when I was married. And she told me, you're going to be blamed for more stuff. And I'm going to say this, if she didn't start nothing, okay, you protect her, especially your daughter. But look, black, if she raises her voice at someone, don't you let her drag you into a conflict. You protect your baby. Because My daughter was a baby at this point when she told me, you protect the baby. Don't worry about her. She's gonna start flip at the mouth to people. And you know what? She was right. And let me tell you something else too. Brothers, I want you to understand something. When they start talking about they're unprotected and they're the most unprotected, that's not true. We black folk love to talk in hyperbole, but they're not the most unprotected, if you really want to know the truth. No, they're not the most unprotected. Brothers, I want you to realize that actually white men have a limit to how much they'll protect white women. Listen to the white red pill guys talk. And they'll tell you. They'll say the exact same thing about their women we saying about ours. It just took them longer to say it. And that's not all there is to it either. That's not all. You have other men. I want you to realize you got other men in other parts of the world that are very conditional about the protection of women. In the Dominican Republic, a lady was dancing nasty in front of everybody, and somebody came up and bumped her. He didn't like beat her, but he came up and bumped her, knocked her back. Somebody sent that video to me. And guess what? Nobody in the crowd that was enjoying watching her objectify herself jumped to her defense. They figured she was out here dancing like this, and her boyfriend caught her, and he came in and he gently corrected her. That's what a lot of people seem to figure. And she was holding her hand like, what the F, man? What are you doing? That's what happened. Someone sent the video to me. It was like, for those who say that it's only black men that don't protect their women. Who protected her? So I want you to understand, brothers, that no, actually a lot of people, they may protect their women, but they're very conditional about that. There's circumstances and conditions under which they do not protect the women from their ethnicity just because they're from the same ethnicity. This is a fantasy that we ancestors tend to believe, and they tend to repeat it for their convenience because they're not necessarily lying. A lot of times they really think it's true, but I'm telling you it's not. Understand that. And since quit coming onto my channel, you can disagree on one end, but quit coming on my channel talking about black men are, most black men are cowards. Quit that mess. When white men ain't wearing a badge and carrying a gun, we usually ain't that scared of them. We may not want to start stuff with them, and we don't want to meet the ones with the badges and the gun, but we usually ain't scared of the ones that ain't got no badges and guns. I ain't scared of them. They could be bigger than me. For whatever reason, I'm just not that afraid of them. I'm afraid of their numbers, I'm afraid of the organization, but one-on-one, they're just not that scary. So no, they don't come on my channel talking about all you brothers is cowards. No. Yeah, but tell you what is the case. Either you are a stereotypical thought starting stuff out in the public, or you're not. And if you're one of those that drives men away, even if you don't know you're doing it, if you're driving men away, then you're the one that you're the reason you don't have any protection. And if you're one of those that doesn't drive men away, then then there's a reason to protect you when you don't start stuff. But like I said, I don't want you to sit up and come on my page because you misunderstood my message. I didn't say that women who don't start stuff don't deserve protection. I said they're not getting it because men nowadays don't know who's who. That's why. If we don't know a woman, we come around the corner and the conflict's already ensued and we don't know how it got started. We don't know who's who. So why risk not being there for the women we're related to that we know ain't starting nothing in order to protect women we don't know, and we can't even ascertain that she didn't start nothing? We don't know. Now, I also want this to be understood. One sister wasn't doing nothing, and a crazy white dude, y'all saw that in the parking lot, I think it was last summer. Crazy white dude came up, not last summer, but the summer before that, the summer 2018. Crazy white dude came up, had, and her brother came out, defended her. She was pregnant. She hadn't started nothing. It wasn't her that started anything. It's a crazy ass white dude. That's the one who started something. So I'm gonna tell y'all straight up, straight like this. If I come around the corner and I see one of you in a conflict with some white folk, right off the bat, I already know at that point they started it, And if they didn't start it, they shouldn't be on. They shouldn't have been on the soil anyway, because they don't belong on American soil, to be honest with you. And I don't just mean United States. I'm talking from Canada down to Argentina and Chile, and the southern tips, Tierra del Fuego. They don't rightfully belong on American soil. So if I come around the corner and you in a conflict with somebody white, best believe I already know who started that. I already know who's at fault. I'm not just going to abandon you. But if I come around the corner and it's a black man and a black woman in an argument or something like that, and I didn't see how it began, then I don't know if it's a domestic thing and it ain't my business and it ain't nothing I can solve anyway, or if it's a case of he started it and he's just abusing her, or she started it. I don't know what the case is. All I know is black men and black women always get in arguments with each other. We don't like each other very much. We don't get along well very much. And I also know that for the most part, a brother that ain't likely to be in an argument at some point with a woman is also very unattractive. And when I say argue, I'm talking nasty, drag out arguments. Brothers that ain't like that are unattractive to black women in America. I know this. So if I don't see the conflict start and see him start the conflict, then I don't know the defender. But let me say this, sisters, if I owe you protection just because you're in a conflict and you're a woman, even if you started it, then who owes black men protection if you start the conflict? You start wailing on a man because he can't hit you back. And he ain't the type to hit you back. So you just wail on him and hit him. Who owes him protection? That's another question to ask. Now this is coming from a man who does offer protection, but I can't sit up here and say that this should be a policy binding upon every man at this point. However, I'm up here protecting him. And this is known. This is known by the people that know me in person where I live. So I'm actually a hypocrite talking all this stuff. But to be fair to these other men, let's hammer these terms out. If you're going to talk about, no matter who you are, if you're going to talk about unconditional protection, that's too easy for you to abuse. And those of you who do not abuse it will wind up suffering because of those who do, which is to a certain extent already happening. And no, you can sit up here and tell me, well, y'all just objectifying us and you saying you ain't gonna protect us if you can't fuck us. Well, you know what? I'm not gonna argue with a man that does say it, even though I don't take necessarily that attitude. But I would say is that if the man cannot, and the reason that he cannot is because he's the type to protect you, then why should he protect you? If the goodness of his character is the reason why he's unattractive to you, then why should he be that good to you? Because no, celibacy is never going to be a positive reinforcement for any behavior you want from men. Now, other rewards can be positive reinforcements. Cooking, cleaning, these just loyalty in general, these things can be. But what black men have understood, two worlds, you know who you are. What black men have understood is that being a positive character enough to where you would defend women you don't know increases your chances of being a community eunuch and being selected by all attractive black women in the community for celibacy. Well, he a good man, girl. And you know, I got these kids by these other men, but I feel a lot better now because when I can't find no other man, I can go to him, raise these babies. That's what a lot of women are saying. A lot of you may not. A lot of you under the sound of my voice may not be thinking that, but there are other women who are thinking this consciously and subconsciously. And we men know it because we see the results. We got to live with it. And no, you may have a problem with that, but the fact is that whether you're talking boyfriend and girlfriend or marriage, our libido and your libido is more important even in the eyes of God than your materialism or our materialism. That's why God ain't gave most people a whole lot of money, but he gave everybody a libido. And you mad about the way God made not only men, but men and women. That's really what you pissed about. So go ahead, if you're mad about it, go to the mountaintop, throw your face to the sky and argue with God and see how far you get. Because you ain't going to recreate us by arguing with us or trying to shame us for being the way we were created. I hope this has been a benefit, and I hope one day this message will be unnecessary. Blackheart, sign a black out. Assalamu alaikum.